This is the CBC Morning Report for today, Monday, July 17th. I'm Tisha Hines. Good morning. In our top story, hiccups in the ordering and supply process of much-needed medication for some non-communicable and other critical treatment medications are causing concern for the local pharmaceutical industry. As we hear from one pharmaceutical supplier, no sooner than back orders are filled, it's time to restock the shelves again. And the blame cannot be placed on poor planning, but rather on the availability of certain medications which are high in demand but short supply. Past president of the Barbados Pharmaceutical Society, Paul Gibson, explains to the Morning Report that every 2 years there is a national tender for pharmaceuticals. 8 weeks ago, the process started and submissions were made for various categories of drugs. The practice is to decrease carrying stock of products in the last tender in anticipation of the choice for new tender. Joining us live now is Mr. Gibson. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. It's good to be here with you.
It's good to have you with us. Thanks for making the time to share with Barbadians. Now, is this tendering process the most tenable or most useful?
Yes, I think that the system has been used for a long time, and we've worked through the kinks of what's happening. But I think the reality in regards to the tender process is that too has been affected by COVID. A lot of people don't realize, but a lot of manufacturing occurs in China, where COVID started. But a lot of those scientists, a lot of those persons that work in that space have passed away because of COVID. And believe it or not, it's had a trickle-down effect on the outputs of what those factories in China did. A lot of them were closed for a long time. And a lot of them are trying to ramp back up. If you understand the pharmaceutical industry and the manufacturing pharmaceuticals, it takes a long time to ramp up a factory to the high standards of pharmaceuticals that we tend to be exposed to as Barbadians. So this is one of the most significant parts of the issue. The second more pressing issue is that of the freight. Since the Suez blockage that occurred over a year ago, that has had an exponential increase in the cost of freight. And not only does it affect pharmaceuticals, but it affects other things. So the manufacturing prices are pretty much the same, but the freight prices have gone up. So people have to manage and now include that in their costings. And that too, you ask yourself whether to bring it or not to bring it. Is it worth it? And that's the first coat of paint on in terms of what I think are some of the major issues that the industry is facing internationally.
Of course, that points to wider global value chain issues that we've been hearing about for some time. But in the interim, what happens to the patient, the people who here in Barbados who need the meds?
Yes, well, one of the good things I would say about the process that we have in Barbados is that if you are under 16 or over 65, you get your free at point of delivery that are available. If you have cancer, asthma, eye issues, and blood pressure, diabetes, these are categories that have been selected because you can't be all things to all men. I think the hard balance that is beginning to happen is that persons like diamond-studded pharmaceuticals and so on. But I think that the tender committee are responsible enough to select those products that would cover all of those categories effectively. The budget for drugs is growing exponentially, especially in the area of oncology, where breast cancers, liver cancers, and so on are beginning to consume the budget, and that's an expensive area. So we have to get that balance right and make sure that that your diabetics, your NCDs, and so on are effectively covered. Because if they are managed adequately, it means that the cascade that's associated with non-communicable diseases is somewhat managed. And so the focus really should be making sure that the key category areas are dealt with. But there's also a concomitant situation where persons have to make sure that when they do get the medications, that they're compliant. People don't realize this, but not keeping your blood pressures down can actually result in damage to your kidneys. If not, managing your diabetes can result in damage to your kidneys and your eyes. And so it is critical that the primary care of Barbados is managed along with the pharmaceutical care. That balance is that's a very tender balance. But if it is achieved, you get better outcomes clinically, short term and long term for Barbadians, and it manages and helps to lower the cost of your healthcare overall.
It's obvious then that you're seeing a knock-on effect based on people not necessarily properly managing their non-communicable diseases as they should. What we understand is that in anticipation of the new tender, you try to move out all of the stock from the old tender so that you don't have stock that carries over. Is there a more viable solution for both pharmacist and patient than to move away from this process, where you can find a lull between the two, where you're moving from one supplier possibly to another, or one set of suppliers to others, as the case may be?
Right. Well, as you know, pharmacists are drug specialists. That's what we are. The reality is that they have the capacity and know which alternatives can be given. And the reality is that trying to put all products onto the formula is really a mistake. I think that we need to focus on getting your key, and most pharmacists will tell you this: focus on getting your key basic pharmaceuticals available. And there's some things that people want, what I call them diamond studded products that people want to have on the formulary, but really, truly, they really should not be on the formulary because they're very expensive. So you take off the duties off of it. But if persons want to buy those, and they are very high cost in many cases, I think there are really too many high cost and high valued pharmaceuticals on the formulary that you can really should be buying from your pharmacist. If you can afford it, or if you have insurance, that's where you should go with that. But the core Barbadians that are being treated, I think that if you go to some of their homes, you realize that they have stacks and stacks of medication. I mean, this is a very disturbing and a very unfortunate cycle that we're in, where you have people that really have a lot of medication that don't really take it, and those that are compliant don't have any. So these are the little things that we want the Barbadian citizenry to be a part of and understand from 33,000 feet. Ensure that you're taking your medication because you don't want it stacked up at home, wasting it. We have a national responsibility as citizens to be part of the solution and not to be a part of the problem. So if you have a lot of medication at home and you're not using it, tell your pharmacist or your doctor, Doc, I have stacks and stacks of these at home, and that allows us to put some back into the system. The discussion about landing the plane on one tender and starting another is a reality. And any good businessman in the private sector would say, look, I don't want to tie up millions of dollars in drugs when in 6 weeks I may or may not gain the contract. So this is a consideration that has to be done, and as part of the solution. So we're about solutions orientation, thinking of solutions. How can we solve this problem? The patients can help. The proper selection of drugs can help, and the proper primary care systems would also help. You don't want too much medication either. You want to manage that carefully. Exercise, diet. We all have a part to play in the solution to this problem.
All right, just so people understand what they're working with and how they can help this process along, what are some of the ailments and drugs that are mostly being affected by this situation?
Right, you have the occasional insulins going low. You have eye drops, some cancer, it's called oncological agents, that are not available, or are sometimes out of reach of the average Barbadian. I think that for the most part, there are alternatives that can be used, and we have to look at where distributors are selling their products to. You may have a product, let's take an eye drop like Vigamox or whatever. A rep may decide they're going to sell all of their product to one doctor, right? And the rest of Barbados is left without product. These are things that, an awareness that has to come through distributors. They have to be more responsible in terms of where they sell their products to, who they sell them to, and the quantity in terms of management of their levels at this particular time, as we are going into the new tender, which is, I think, MPC 41. Tenders now last 2 years, and we're at the end of one tender now, and these are little things that you have to be responsible for in terms of how distributors manage their stock levels, in terms of how patients consume their products, in terms of your health, your exercise, your diet. It is a collage, is a coming together of everybody around this issue of health. It is really the last bastion, and everybody must play a part. But I'm thinking that the distributors must do their part, the pharmacists can do their part, and have been carrying this entire system for many, many years. Sometimes to the loss of their business and not even pay bills. Sometimes it gets so rough. But we have been there. The pharmacists have been standing with the government and have been offering Barbados the best care in terms of pharmaceutical care. I celebrate pharmacy right now, and I thank all my colleagues for all the great work that's been doing now and over the years.
We, of course, thank you so much, Mr. Paul Gibson, past president of the Barbados Pharmaceutical Society, for sharing with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right, coming up on the CBC Morning Report, record heats gripping 3 continents. That's coming up. Scorching weather is gripping 3 continents, whipping up wildfires and threatening to topple temperature records. Predictions of historic heat hung over swaths of Asia, Europe, and the United States on Sunday. And some countries like Italy are expecting highs of 40 degrees by tomorrow.
It's the second heat wave to hit southern Europe this summer. And here in Rome, it's hot. Very, very hot. This is the iconic Piazza Navona, one of the major tourist attractions, and especially now during the peak of tourist season, it should be packed with people, with street artists. Well, not this year because of the high temperatures. The Italian government has issued a red alert in 16 cities across the country. That means that there are serious health risks, not only for the elderly and the most vulnerable, but for the entire population. It has also issued some guidelines. Cover your head, stay indoors during the peak hours of the day, and get hydrated as often as you can. Emergency services are also on high alert, as this is just the beginning of this heat wave, and temperatures are due to soar in the coming days, possibly reaching 48 degrees Celsius, if not more, in the islands of Sardinia and Sicily. Now, the government is also asking people to remain mindful of the consequences of extreme heat, like wildfires or eventually torrential rain. Basically, the country is on high alert.
Ukraine says fighting has intensified in the east of the country as Russian President Vladimir Putin dismissed Kyiv's counter-offensive as a failure. A top Ukrainian defense official says Russian forces and Ukrainian troops were clashing in at least 3 areas on the Eastern Front. Key pieces of artillery being used by either side are tanks, some of which are requiring regular maintenance.
Under the cover of the forest, these men work on T-72 tanks, some of which are older than their parents. The location is secret. It's close to the front line because these tanks need to be repaired and returned to the battlefield quickly. The methods are simple and low-tech. 21-year-old Bumper, as he is known, is a mechanic and tank driver. He's just come back from battle.
It was like raining, shells and mines on us. The field was full of craters and mines, and the commander of my unit died when his tank burned with him in it.
The work is arduous and difficult, but there's no other choice. When they're fixed and upgraded, the tanks make their way back to their positions. We're being taken to where the tank is hidden. Now, it has to be really well hidden because there's always drones up in the air where Russians can spot the position of the tank and then target it. This tank crew are getting ready in case they're called out to fight.
Everything is simpler in this tank than others. Of course, it's better to receive the more modern Western tanks. We could then keep these in reserve. It turns out we're fighting T-72s against T-72s. The Western tanks are made to fight against these.
Tank crews are in high demand and essential to Ukraine's counter-offensive.
500 days of war have passed and I haven't seen my family. I'm not given any leave. There's no opportunity. The two sides are evenly matched and we barely managed to beat them.
When the call comes in, they have to be prepared to take positions. This part of eastern Ukraine has Russian forces on three sides. When firing, they have to be quick. A shell lands just meters away. They've been spotted. They manage to get away. Undercover, it's always a relief. But they know every mission could be their last.
It's time now to preview what's coming up on today's presentation of. Well, we're going to Alligator. They've won the SIDS Partnership 2023 Environmental Award. We will update you on that. Plus, next chapter, history in a nutshell. We are talking to Glovina Springer about her latest publication. So that will be very interesting. Plus, we are starting the conversation with families on mental health. Russell Mosley, counseling psychologist with Supreme Counseling for Personal Development, will be in to share with us. That's all coming up at 6:30 on Morning Barbados. But next, we have more news, sports, and weather. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The Barbados Workers Union says an agreement has been reached that will significantly enhance the work conditions and overall operations of Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited and its subsidiaries, Capita Finance Inc. and Capita Insurers Brokers. A marathon meeting over the weekend, stretching for 13 hours, achieved several key breakthroughs. These included outstanding overtime payments, performance incentive pay, internal salary adjustments, and equitable distribution of performance incentive pool. The staff of the three companies have been off the job since Friday. However, following the meeting and the agreements reached with the BWU, all employees are expected to resume their duties this morning, bringing normalcy back to operations. For the second straight year, females have topped both categories of the Scotiabank Junior Monarch competition. The event was held at the Garfield Sobers complex over the weekend. CBC's Rianne Phillips reports.
The winner of the 2023 Scotiabank Junior Monarch Soccer Competition, it is a Bajan thing, it is Tay.
Now everybody put it up, don't you eagle hawk. And her prizes include
The winner in the soccer category of the 2023 Scotiabank Junior Monarch is taking home a bank account valued at $3,000 thanks to Scotiabank Barbados Limited. A scholarship valued at $6,475 to be used on reaching the age of 18 thanks to Barbados Institute of Management and Productivity by MAP. $2,000 in cash, a shopping voucher valued at $1,000 from Court Unicomber Barbados Limited, a Samsung tablet thanks to Digital Barbados, a voucher valued at $500 redeemable at Bridgetown Duty Free, lunch for two thanks to Accra Beach Hotel and Spa, a participating trophy, and of course the winner's trophy.
Tay secured the deal with this performance of Bajan Ting and successfully retained the Junior Soccer Monarch title with 116 points. There was a tie for second place with Trinity, who sang I Love Soccer, and Zari B, who sang Get Active, both receiving 104 points. Mr. Showman, singing We Don't Care, finished third with 80.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2023 Scotiabank Junior Monarch Calypso competition is Sakara through the song called Alexa.
When I look around this country, so many things does amaze me.
The Mighty Bit Bit with Drugs and Disobedience earned 99 points to finish second, while Potent was third with Cat Lashwi. He received 93 points. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
In sports, top Barbadian quarter-miler Sade Williams ran a season's best, 50.34 seconds, as she placed fifth in Day's Diamond League in Poland. Williams was fifth behind winner Natalia of Poland in a meet record of 49.48.
Sade Williams of
It's time now to take a peek at the weather. The barometric pressure stands at 1014.1 millibars. It's 27.2 degrees Celsius outside. The relative humidity stands at 85%, and the winds are blowing out of the east-southeast at 28 kilometers per hour. It's presently fair. Sea conditions for today: smooth to moderate in open water with swells peaking at 1.5 meters and increasing. And here's a look at how the tides roll in. General forecast for Barbados: a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. Into the evening, you can expect much of the same. And that is weather. Brings an end to the morning report. Our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon on TV8, followed by The World at 1 on our radio network of stations. Morning Barbados is next.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, 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 morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, morning, Barbados, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, morning, Barbados, good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
It's Monday, July 17th. Quite a weekend we have had, but welcome to Monday. It's good to have you in company. It's Morning Barbados for another day. I'm Tisha Hines, and I will be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. We have a great show planned for you today, as always, and we're hoping that you can stick around. Maybe you can leave home a little later because the little ones are out of school. And for the little ones who are able to stay with us today, it's good to have you home. I know how I used to feel about the summer holiday, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time as well. Always a good time to spend a little time with friends and family. The little ones get to go and, as they say, spend out time for the holiday, go to camp and do a few different things. These days, a lot of parents are into academic camps, which can help children really get back on track by the new school year as well. But we want to make sure that is nice and balanced, okay? So today we're going to be talking a little bit about that and sliding into families, starting that conversation that is very, very necessary at this time, a conversation on mental health. And we find that we are talking a whole lot more about mental health, which is wonderful because we've come to a place in Barbados where we are now looking at mental health and mental wellness in a totally different light than we did before, but we truly have to amp up the way that we are taking care of each other. Russell Mosley, counseling psychologist with Supreme Counseling for Personal Development, he's back today, and he's going to guide us through how we start that mental health conversation with our loved ones. So about listening, about caring, about paying a little more attention so that we can take care of them and figure out if they need our help and how we can help them. So that is coming up on Morning Barbados. I know you won't want to miss that. And of course, we're going to tell you all about what happened this weekend on Saturday with the Junior Monarchs, the Junior Soca Monarch and the Junior Calypso Monarch, and all of the young people who performed. We're going to give you some highlights from that. If you missed it, it was a wonderful presentation. And of course, you can go back to CBC's YouTube page or the NCF's page, and you can see the entire thing. We had a great time with that on Saturday night, and of course it was the debut television performance as well for young Quan, who is a former Monarch, as well as the reigning Pickety Crop Monarch. He co-hosted on Saturday as well. So Junior Monarch vibes definitely coming up as we continue to bring you all of the crop over fever. I don't know if you got out to Pandemonium yesterday, but it truly was pandemonium at the Botanical National Gardens. Lots of people came out, and that too was an exciting time. Now, of course, we are also going to do the next chapter today. Glovina Springer, the author of History in a Nutshell, easy reading series from Africa to Caribbean Slavery and Freedom. It's heritage education for adolescent learners. She will be in to tell us more about that particular book as well. So lots to see and do today as we get the show going and continue through to 8 o'clock this morning. We're going to start though by telling you about Jamaica's Alligator Head Foundation because they have won the SIDS Partnerships 2023 Environmental Award. So let's welcome Nikki Myers, General Manager of the Alligator Head Foundation, as well as Dr. Wayne Myrie, Researcher and Coordinator of the ITC CARDI project, to tell us a little bit more about this massive win. Good morning and welcome.
Namaste, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good
First
morning,
of all,
and thank you for having me.
Of course, congratulations are in order. So I'm going to start with you, Ms. Myers. Tell me a little bit about what it means to get this big win. But first of all, you have to lay out exactly what it is and how you were able to achieve this.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the Alligator Head Foundation, we are a not-for-profit, non-government organization doing ecological restoration through marine conservation in Jamaica. We manage one of the many marine protected areas in the space. What does it mean? It means that the strength of partnership survives, and it survives really strongly and very well. We do quite a bit of work. We are located in East Portland in Jamaica, which is in rural Jamaica. And so we do quite a lot of work with farmers and fisher folk in that space, because even though we do marine conservation, our work does not stop at the shoreline. We understand that there is the necessity to make sure that from ridge to reef, everybody's conscious of what needs to happen for the protection of the marine space and for our general well-being. As small island developing states, we know that we are at the forefront of the impacts of climate change. And so it's essential for us to look at mitigating practices, and that includes climate smart agriculture. So in comes in ITC, International Trade Center, and the Coconut Industry Board. And they also are looking at how it is that they can support farmers sustainably while doing climate smart agriculture. And so it almost seemed like we were destined to meet. We had the relevant conversations about our interests and what our intentions were. We realized that a lot of our paths crossed in terms of what we'd like to achieve and the methodologies that we're looking at and what we wanted to see for our communities and how we're already working in this field. And so the rest, as they say, is history. We just got to the ground and started working with it. The Alligator Head Foundation has a strong relationship with farmers groups in the spaces. So we went out, we spoke with our farmers. We wanted to know if this was something that they were interested in. And then we laid out the details of the plan, which I'll give Wayne an opportunity to tell you a little bit more in terms of what it entailed. And so together, it's a tripartite win. It's ITC, Alligator Head Foundation, and the Coconut Industry Board. We just decided that this is what we wanted to achieve, and we just went on it, and we just got it done. And
well, congrats again. I understand that the partnership is also a big win for the farmers who are a part of what is being done or are beneficiaries of the outcome of what you're able to achieve. So I now go to Dr. Wayne, if I can call you Dr. Wayne, to tell us more about, your part, the part that you've played in the entire presentation.
Yes. Well, first, I would like to mention good morning, everyone. Good morning to your listeners. This partnership award that we have won in the environmental category among ITC, CARDI, ITC, and Alligator Head Foundation and CIB. This is funded by the European Union. And we were awarded this on July 11th. That was last week. We felt and decided from very early on with Alligator Head Foundation and ITC that we need to strengthen the environmental approach in the project, in the ITC CARDI project that we were rolling out across Jamaica and also across the region. We want to achieve diversified farmers' livelihood through crop diversification and also to increase food production through sustainable environmental management, along with protecting land and marine ecosystem, biodiversity, and also climate smart adaptation. So the farmers that we engage with on a daily basis in this project, we encourage them to form themselves into productive units so that we can have impactful training on various aspects of environmental management and also integrated pest management. In terms of the environmental management, this is very important for sustainability. Oftentimes, farmers over fertilize, they use too much pesticide, especially in watersheds in the watershed area. So we basically emphasize good agricultural practices that can actually protect the land resources, but also the marine environment. So it's marrying the blue and the green economy for farmers' sustainability and also for environmental sustainability.
Well, that's wonderful stuff, especially since we're going in the direction of trying to get to achieving these sustainable development goals that we all are working toward by 2030, I believe, and most certainly as small island developing states. I think the onus is on us to truly lead the charge. In real terms for you, though, Nikki, what does this mean for the Alligator Head Foundation and for all of the partners who are with you on the ground, including the umbrella organization for the coconut vendors, or the coconut farmers rather, and just generally people who benefit, which is really all of us, from a bluer and greener economy?
What this really means, I mean, and Wayne and Ben from ITC will let you know that one of the things we have been at this for, we started with the project for the first year, and that became essentially what was our litmus test in terms of we knew what was possible. We knew the elements that we had together. We knew the recipe that we were trying to put together. And so we had a year and it went really, really well. Then we launched into funding for the second year, and this is what has resulted in us being recognized for this award. And what that means is that we have had the opportunity to be able to demonstrate, not just on paper, but in practice, that together we can achieve quite a bit more. We have also demonstrated that a lot of the times the siloization that exists in the environmental space is not in the benefit of any of us in terms of the goals that we'd like to be able to achieve. And so moving forward, especially for small island developing states, we must make sure that we are marrying the terrestrial and the marine. Wayne spoke about the blue and the green economy. We cannot advance in silos where that is concerned, because everything impacts each other. And we just have to look at the size of our countries to understand that nothing is divorced. That is one thing. And by extension, what it also means is that we are trusting that as a not-for-profit, non-government organization, this gives us the platform to be able to demonstrate that the projects and the mission that we have and the rollout and the methodologies that we have, that we implement, they work, so we can get more support. More support on many levels for people to be able to start practicing some of the things that we are encouraging them to do, but more support in terms of the finances, in terms of encouraging us to get more projects like this going. You know, Ben and Wayne and I talk about the opportunities that we have for leveling up with this project. We've started a lot on the ground, the nurseries, the teaching the agricultural practices in terms of climate smart agriculture. But the possibilities are endless in terms of what can happen. You speak about the vendors. We are looking at the possibility for a project as this to be able to look at building generational wealth and legacy. And so that is something that we're constantly looking at, and something that we're constantly, and we're hoping that this platform gives us the opportunity to be able to move beyond it. For farmers who only focused on planting coconuts, and those were not the only crops that they had the opportunity for intercrops of plantain and Scotch bonnet pepper. for them to now be able to look at this as just one rung or one platform in everything that you're doing. How do we now level up in terms of financial literacy, business plans, value chains? So the possibilities are endless, and what it means for us is that we're trusting that we will get a lot more support in a lot of these areas, and for people to build the awareness that marine conservation is not divorced from terrestrial management.
Dr. Wayne, it's really great to hear that Cardi is another major partner in this, because as Caribbean people, we know, and you kind of hinted to it a little bit when you talked about the fact that some of the farmers might be using too much fertilizer or too much this or that. Through the years, we've heard old wives' tales, and we've shared remedies and things like that, but with no real empirical data behind to support what we've been doing. What role does research play in assisting us in getting to this place where international organizations are now far more interested in Caribbean interests, in the blue and green economy, because of the fact that we now have data that backs up what we are able to present?
Very good question that you have asked. I certainly, anything that we do has to be driven by research data. And there is data available to suggest to us that farmers are actually using too much fertilizer, especially when you do the soil analysis on their farms, and the level of nitrate or nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus. Those levels are at sustainable levels for plant to grow healthy and to produce well, but yet the farmer is still putting on more fertilizer, which, over fertilization runs off into the rivers, into the streams, and into the sea, and damage, for example, into the sea, damage the coral reefs. So it is data like that we use to drive smart, what we consider smart agriculture. And smart agriculture, in this case, in terms of fertilization, is to make sure you do the necessary soil tests, which is important. But I think the most important test that you can do with the soil is also the leaf analysis, to see what is taken up from the soil to sustain food production. And hence, you'll be able to smartly prescribe what sort of remedies, amelioration that can be done by the farmers, whether it's of organic nature, where you need to restructure the top layer of the soil in order to get more nutrients uptake into the plants, or to simply modify the pH, because the pH of the soil will also increase your uptake of nutrients. So it's driven by data. Pests and diseases is one such important aspect of food production, actually minimizing and negating pests from destroying your crops. But also, in doing so, we use minimally pesticides or organic chemicals that will help to reduce the pests and diseases, and not damaging the environment, which is important for sustainability.
All right, that's that's wonderful news, and it's great to see that NGOs, not-for-profit organizations across the region are receiving awards of this type at this level. So again, congratulations. And for you, Nikki, you have the final word. Congratulations from the whole of Barbados on your achievements.
Thank you so much. And it's a win for the region, as you rightly say. And for us, we see it just as that. And that is exactly what this means. It means that partnership. And we're looking at this as an opportunity that can be replicable and scalable, because there are a lot of factors that are common among all of us Caribbean islands. So this is just one step up for everybody that we would like to share the methodology, the modalities, and we celebrate it all, because a win for Jamaica is a win for the region.
Absolutely. I want to thank you both for coming on and sharing with us. And when you start getting calls from local farmers here in Barbados, hope you absolutely are ready for it. I think your Ridge to Reef project is very impressive. Generally, we have a similar project ongoing, and you know that we are doing a lot in that area as well. So we definitely need to lean on each other whenever we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
And good morning, Barbados. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Bye. We're going to take a break here. And when we come back, Glovina Springer is in to tell us all about history in a nutshell. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So tell me a little bit about what piqued your interest in first of all, determining that you wanted to write this book.
Well, I am a teacher, and I have been interacting with students for a very long time who have no idea about Black people's connection with Africa, as well as to explain the achievements of Black people in a world with challenges that still confront us as a people. So I decided that history, with all its complexities, that I need to simplify the history at the level where the adolescent can really read, understand, and think critically.
All right, so tell me how you were able to achieve that in this particular book.
Well, what I've done, content I've been teaching for years, I was able to teach it, reteach it, modify it, and work on it over a couple of years, especially during the pandemic, to bring it to this point of having it in a structured text altogether for my students.
What are some of the critical areas that you cover within the text?
Well, I started off with giving them an overview of Africa, because as a lot of children have said to me, well, what they know about Africa is about starvation, and very often they missed learning about the beauty of Africa, its culture, its people, and about the journey, what brought us here to the Caribbean. So to explain all of that, I went from Africa through slavery, through struggles post emancipation, right through to achievements, and just motivating our children to really reach the heights that they're born to reach.
All right. Now, you mentioned that in your 39 years of teaching, you've been sharing a lot of what you share in this particular text. Does that mean then that children's use of this text can help them more in class and towards exams and things of that nature?
Well, this text is a starter text for the early adolescent at the junior secondary level. So it gives an overview in font, with a font-friendly format, color, lots of photos that the early adolescent, early children really relate to well and become more effective learners when they interact in such a medium. So I've used that as a starter. The advanced learner will then can take off from this as a platform to greater, more in-depth studies.
All right, so talk to us about all of these photos and so on you were able to source to be a part of the presentation.
I was able to receive permissions from Prepics to use their photos on slavery. So I was able to really make the text alive, bring it alive. Some were some drawings that I was able to get done. I did some drawings myself, use lots of text boxes and so on, and just make it very attractive for the junior secondary child. And beyond as well, because some adults who have bought copies, they've said to me that it is also educational for the adult learner who is not totally aware of what really happened from Africa to the Caribbean.
In your teaching over the years, what are some of the areas that you think adolescent children were missing out on, maybe because of the way text is structured or the way history is taught? I know you mentioned that they see Africa and all they think they know is starvation and things like that. They don't necessarily see about the natural resources and the natural beauty of Africa, the history, the true history and richness of the culture of the entire continent. But what are some of the major ways that we maybe have been missing it in other texts that you've been able to capture through this one?
Well, hard history is always uncomfortable for many teachers. And there is a void in history. We teach lots of European history. We miss out on the details of slavery. And for me, teaching about slavery is not to really perpetuate any form of hatred. It's basically to explain the journey we've come. You know, these are the challenges. These are the ways that the slaves overcame it. This is the road to achievement that you yourself, as a young black child, can take. It explains a lot of the historical culture that we interact with every day. And basically giving that child what I see as a void in our curriculum. Giving that child that education can help in understanding what is happening in society, the realities, the complexities, why things happen the way they do. And it basically corrects that, I don't want to call it miseducation, but the gap.
Yeah.
So this text here, this explains and tries to fill that void.
I think it's also necessary for us to be able to understand who we are now.
Identity.
In a number of ways. Even if we look at ourselves culturally, what we do, where certain words, customs, the way we eat, all of those things are concerned, they truly are direct derivatives of slavery.
Yes.
And, you know, and that follows naturally in knowing exactly why these things happen.
Yes.
These days, there's been much discussion on why Caribbean people have NCDs at the rate that they do. And I believe some pharmaceutical companies, through research, they've now found that people of African descent in the Caribbean, the drugs don't interact with our bodies the same way that they interact with people of African descent from other parts of the world. So to delve into history is to tell ourselves and to find out what we need to do to be able to even make ourselves better as Caribbean people. So it truly is far more important than just sharing about the African continent. It really ties into
connection,
precisely who we are. So where can we get the text? Is this a text that you're hoping will be used in the schools as well? Or are you encouraging parents to also maybe get the text to get an early jump on what's to be expected?
Well, actually, I'm a teacher of literacy. That's my specialty. And what I've tried to capture is a text for informative reading, as well as a text that can be used as a pretext to deeper historical studies. So it can be used for general informative reading as well as a classroom tool. I'm hoping to get it into the bookstores as well as to share it with schools. And the intention is to see whether schools would appreciate this form of education, and certainly the general public can have access to it via any bookstore that would be willing to sell it, or there's a direct contact that they can make with me. I'm hoping to have a website launched so that it can be shared on Instagram and other social media platforms.
All right, so make sure that you grab that book, and it's a quick and easy read.
Very easy. Yeah.
Yes, and it really is a great way you can go through it with your younger children, and it won't be difficult for them to understand.
Yeah.
I think it is a great read. It's a wonderful buy. Where can we get it right now, though?
Right now, there is only a direct contact with me at this point.
Okay.
I'm now about to really market it.
All right.
The first stage was try to get it completed, get the awareness out there, and then move into the marketing
All right, well, we certainly will help how we can, because
it very much.
it really intrigues me that you say you're a teacher of literacy as well. So wearing that other hat, we have to invite you back, because that is one area that we have to work on. And even though we're moving in to the summer holiday, and I should say especially since we're moving into the summer holiday, I think these are things that we need to look at, conversations that must be had about children who are moving out of schools, and you're hearing they can't read, basic things like that. So I think this is a conversation that we need to have outside of this very educational book on history, which you deem history in a nutshell, that we definitely should include as a must-read for our adolescent children.
Yeah, and there's actually a link with English literacy and the history literacy. So it's a holistic package, right? You're developing your reading skills, and you're getting some information on history literacy, what I call heritage literacy.
Heritage literacy, I love it. So thank you so much, Ms. Springer, for coming in and sharing with us, and we most certainly will share more on that book for you. Like I said, it's an easy read. Get it for your little ones, go through it. Even if it's the only book they read for the summer, make sure that they take a look at this book. Thank you for coming in again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, an update of the news is next. Stay with us.
morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
4 minutes now after 7 o'clock, time for an update of the news. The Barbados Workers Union says an agreement has been reached that will significantly enhance the work conditions and overall operations of Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited and its subsidiaries, Capita Finance Inc., and Capita Insurers Brokers. A marathon meeting over the weekend, stretching from 13 hours, achieved several key breakthroughs. These included outstanding overtime payments, performance incentive pay, internal salary adjustments, and equitable distribution of performance incentive pool. The staff of the three companies have been off the job since Friday. However, following the meeting and the agreements reached with the BWU, all employees are expected to resume their duties this morning, bringing normalcy back to operations. For the second straight year, females have topped both categories of the Scotiabank Junior Monarch competition. The event was held at the Garfield Sobers Complex over the weekend. CBC's Rianne Phillips reports.
The winner of the 2023 Scotiabank Junior Monarch Soccer Competition, it is a Bajan thing, it is Tay.
Now everybody put it up. Don't you ego hog.
And her prizes include
The winner in the soccer category of the 2023 Scotiabank Junior Monarch is taking home a bank account valued at $3,000 thanks to Scotiabank Barbados Limited. A scholarship valued at $6,475 to be used on reaching the age of 18 thanks to Barbados Institute of Management and Productivity by MAP. $2,000 in cash, a shopping voucher valued at $1,000 from Courts Unicomber Barbados Limited, a Samsung tablet thanks to Digital Barbados, a voucher valued at $500 redeemable at Bridgetown Duty Free, lunch for two thanks to Accra Beach Hotel and Spa, a participating trophy, and of course the winner's trophy.
Tay secured the deal with this performance of Bajan Ting and successfully retained the Junior Soccer Monarch title with 116 points. There was a tie for second place with Trinity, who sang I Love Soccer, and Zari B, who sang Get Active, both receiving 104 points. Mr. Showman, singing We Don't Care, finished third with 80.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2023 Scotiabank Junior Monarch Calypso competition is Sakara. Through the song called Alexa.
When I look around this country, so many things does I miss.
The Mighty Bit with Drugs and Disobedience earned 99 points to finish second, while Potent was third with Cat Lashwi. He received 93 points. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
A great time had by all. And speaking of great time, patrons have given the thumbs up to this year's Republic Bank's Pandemonium held at the Botanical Gardens. CBC's Trevor Thorpe has that story.
Overcast skies did little to dampen the spirit of pan lovers as hundreds filled the National Botanical Gardens Waterford for what has become a staple of the annual Crop Over Festival. Juliet Worrell, a pan lover who has been a follower of the art form from the beginning, was in her element today.
I happened to be at the first pan, which is at the UB. That was on Friday night. It was wonderful. Not only that, I like the initiative where the government even decide to take part in helping the schools to develop pan. And now you can see the fruits of the labor, because even foundation school boasts that they started with 8 students, now they had 30, and it was so engaging. We had a wonderful time. And also the fact that a lot of people was under the lockdown with COVID, and this is another area the government decided to open up to get to stage off the event, and everybody come and enjoy beautiful pan. So I am loving it. Crop Over is lovely.
She said the composition of Pandemonium is good, not only that it provides an outlet for musical expressions of pan lovers, but also provides for entrepreneurs to sell their wares.
The space and the location is wonderful. Not only the parking, you know, we're still in the COVID era, and you have a lot of room for people to spread out. And you can see grandmothers, grandfathers, children. everybody having a good time, and also the fact that you have like a kids zone for children to come and play, and then you have the food and you have people with crafts. So it is a beautiful set. It is an excellent initiative, and I love it. Crop over to the world 2023. Here we are.
Chairman of the National Cultural Foundation, Dr. Jasmine Babb, was pleased with the public's response to the event at the new location.
People are going to enjoy the trucks with all the steel pan music and so on from all the different steel band groups. And we also have Exodus that's coming in from Trinidad. So I think everybody will be looking forward to that.
The Botanical Gardens is alive with steel pan music, which will continue until late into the night. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
That's it for our news update. Our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon on TV8, followed by The World at 1 on our network of stations, 100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. Morning Barbados continues after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, the eyes have it. It's time for us to play. So let's get on with it. We're going to share some eyes with you, and you have to identify whose eyes they are. Now, for this particular person, he was a DJ before he became an entertainer. He was a DJ before he became an entertainer. Who could this be? If you think you know who it is, get close to your phone lines. We're going to take calls soon. I'll tell you when. But hone in on those eyes and see if you think you know who it is. He was a DJ before he became an entertainer. Now, just with that clue, I'm thinking a particular person, but the eyes don't look like that person's eyes to me, so I'm not sure. I'm going to need another clue, and maybe you will too. So keep on viewing so that we can figure out whose eyes they are, because the eyes have it.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, so welcome back. It's 12 minutes now after 7 o'clock, and we told you we wanted to start that conversation on mental health. We made a start last week, and we're back with Russell Mosley, counseling psychologist with Supreme Counseling for Personal Development. Always good to have you with us, Russell.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so how do we start that conversation within the family on mental health? I know that there are several things that happen within families, and even before we get into, because I think when we say mental health, people automatically think mental illness. So let's talk about mental health in the context of just wellness, feeling like you are doing well, being happy, things like that. Do you think that the way we couch the language is hindering us from even starting the conversation?
So I think definitely, yes, the language does play a role. I think it's something that you can be talking with your kids about from a very, very, very young age. It's something that we can have regular discussions about, because as you said, you don't have to be sick to begin the conversation. You don't have to be really unwell to have the conversation. It's just really a matter of everyday life, and letting people know that it's important to be able to keep track of yourself and how you're doing, having a conversation as straightforward as how are you doing, but not just how are you doing, because everybody just answers fine.
No, they don't. Everybody in Barbados says good.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, yeah, they say good. But yeah, so the thing is, obviously that doesn't get as much information out, so letting people know it's important to still speak about yourself and to kind of check in with yourself to really see how you're doing. And something as simple as asking how are you doing physically, and separating it to say, okay, well, how am I doing physically? Okay, well, maybe my leg is hurting, my head is hurting, I'm feeling a bit tired. That kind of opens up the conversation a little bit more. How I'm feeling mentally, emotionally, or even spiritually, these things tend to have a more direct impact, because it's like, well, it's a more direct question as opposed to the broad term of how are you doing? And so like that in itself can kind of start the conversation a little bit better. But also I think that, it's important to let people know from early that, it's okay to be able to check in with yourself, to make sure that you're creating time for yourself, make sure that you're doing things that really promote, wellness, which is, exercise, getting out, getting fresh air, having social time, having alone time. All of these things that really create that balance, because again, life can very easily slip into an unbalanced situation, and that's really where problems start to occur.
I want to stick with the language a little bit more. And I said, when you said I'm fine, I said good, because that annoys me to no end, especially the little ones. So you say, how are you today? Good. How was your day? Good. It's almost like a brush off.
Yeah.
And then pleasantries in Barbados mean a great deal. So through the years, it has waned a bit, but there are still people who they go through the motions. Good morning, how are you? So that's kind of the question, but they really aren't listening for the answer, because they truly don't say it in a way that they want to know how you're doing. For me, I think that having that conversation about mental health and wellness means that when you ask that question, you have to be willing to receive the answer. So it's kind of an in passing, good morning, how are you? You say, and I think someone raised it to me some time ago. She said that her response was, and she was kind of doing her own experiment, I'm horrible, and the response was okay, and the person was gone, because they don't expect that you truly would answer. So I think listening is a big part of, and caring, being empathetic are really big parts of what will move the conversation forward, even if it starts with our family and loved ones, asking the question with a meaning, and then listening, truly listening for the answer.
So absolutely, and that's one of the major parts, if not the most important part of being a psychologist, is listening, and not just trying to push your agenda on the person. It's really trying to find out, what is actually going on with the person. And again, as you said, it's very important. I mean, a lot of the time, as you said, we meet people on the street or as we go on, and we'll ask them how they are, but it's just surface. It's not a conversation. It's just, I'm just saying this. And I think with family and friends and close family and friends, it's very important to actually have that conversation be meaningful and more direct, as opposed to, just a how are you doing, but like, how are you actually doing? How are you doing, with some situation that you might have experienced recently. And so again, by having that more direct question, that person then can actually speak on something specifically. But as you said, the real important part is listening, because if you're trying to communicate with someone, it's about sending and receiving messages. It's not just about sending messages. And I think people get caught up with what they say, what the message that they're sending, and pay very little attention to what is actually being said back to them. And
it's
so
true.
then the communication then just starts breaking down, and then the person feels, okay, well, I'm not being heard, so I don't feel comfortable to speak. And then that then again creates the atmosphere that, you know, I don't want to speak because this person isn't hearing me.
They don't care anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And another thing that kind of piqued my attention about the language and the way we speak is I have a really close friend who is not Barbadian. And, you know, she's always very in tune when she's here to how we speak and what we do. She's always trying to do the Barbadian accent, just never works out. Her name is Hetty. And Hetty said to me one day, she said, you know, why do Barbadians always answer in a double negative? You say, how are you? I say, not bad. So she always said, well, does that mean you're good? Because if you're not bad, like, what does that mean? You know, so, you know, just being conscious of these things, I think will make all the difference. And then when we have conversations with the children, some parents want to find out how the children's day went, but the children are in this frame of mind. They're like, good. So personally for me, with the nephews and the daughter, what I had to start doing is thinking of other ways that I could ask them questions, direct questions that they had to answer. So I started asking, like in the instant, you know, when they were really small, they would get demerits at school. So I would say, who would you say should have received a demerit today? So then I would get the stories. So it really starts with kind of coming up with a plan on how you can have these in-depth conversations and meaningful conversations with your children and other family members. And it might be, you know, it might be a case where you have to do that with a husband who is not as vocal, or a wife who doesn't share as much, or a mother or grandmother, you know, because people are different. So what are some of the conversations that we need to be having outside of just mental wellness, mental health? How are you doing? How do you start the real serious conversations? I had one with a young lady on live TV on Saturday, and she said, when I say I am depressed, the response is, you don't pay any bills? What do you know about being depressed? So, and this was on live TV, and that struck me in a major way. And this is a young lady who was talking and sharing about losing her father to gun violence. So in terms of conversations like that, in a broader context, how are we able to tackle them tactfully?
So that's kind of where I think a lot of people around the world fall down, because we have our own concept of what is stressful, what is upsetting, what is depressing, and so if somebody else's experience doesn't match up to that, we just kind of brush it off and say, oh, well, that's, you know, that's not a big deal. I have this to deal with. And so then we get back to the comparing game, which is, again, not very useful, not very productive. And you know, it's one of those things where, and you said it before, where it's like, you know, it's the listening part, and it's like, even if I can't relate to what you are saying, and that's actually a really important point that I had kind of learned when I was studying, is that if you can't relate to what someone is saying, that is a better opportunity for you to ask more questions and more valuable questions, because now you're taking it upon yourself to try to learn what that person is going through, as opposed to assuming what the person is going through. And those assumptions and those kind of taking it with through your own lens kind of creates that disconnect between you and the person. And when you create that disconnect, then again, that person starts to shut down and say, well, I don't want to share. I don't want to talk about this. And when they have that experience 1, 2, 3 times, then they're like, why would I even bother go to a professional? I don't want to go to anyone, because I'm greeted with that disconnect, and that even feels more isolating than the actual experience. And so a lot of people then start pulling back even more. And so it really is important that, okay, well, look, you're explaining this thing to me. Instead of me trying to respond to you and responding from my lens, listen, hear what they're saying. If they're saying something that you don't relate to, ask another question. I said, okay, well, I don't really understand what you're saying, I don't understand what you're feeling. Tell me more about it. Tell me more. Explain it as if I know nothing in the world at all. And you explain it to me like if I'm a baby. And they will go more into it, hopefully, and open up more. And then you can understand it a little bit better and can kind of not necessarily try to fix, but again, one, they have that support that they can have someone to talk to, but also then, if you actually know where they're coming from, that's the only way you can help them. You can't help them from hoping that they're somewhere else. You got to meet them exactly where they are, realize, okay, well, they might not want to be there, you might not want them to be there, but that is the reality. I can't go and give you help from somewhere that you are not. So that's really the important part, is right, just getting that conversation started by really trying to understand where that person is coming from.
All right, we're going to take a break here and come on back. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the ways that you can get your family and friends together, things you can do to get those conversations started, conversations on mental health and wellness. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 7:26. Welcome back on this Monday. Quite a big weekend. We had the state funeral on Friday. We also had the Junior Monarch that came up on Saturday, as well as Junior Kaduma. We had pandemonium yesterday at the Botanical Gardens. There's been so much going on. Sometimes we can get so busy with everything going on that we forget that we need to check in with friends and relatives. So this is where Russell Mosley comes in. If you're just tuning in, he's a counseling psychologist with Supreme Counseling for Personal Development. And we are talking about starting that conversation about mental wellness, mental health, generally how people feel. That's really what it's all about. So tell us, Russell, when families get so busy, we're kind of like in this fast food era, I think is what they call it. And everybody wants everything right now. I think there's an ad that we make a lot of jokes of. If you have cable television, say it's by a company called J.G. Wentworth. It's my money and I need it now. Everybody needs everything right now. And we're all kind of going about our own business. So how can families make real time to be able to have meaningful conversations that really can make the difference between life and death?
Yeah, so again, it has kind of taken over the Western world, really, where it's like everything needs to be no, no, no. And it's very easy to be like, oh, well, I don't have time for that. And the reality is that a lot of us are on a path where it's not really a healthy path, and that is because, again, we spend a lot of time focusing on, well, one, money and work, and then what happens is that we get so exhausted, probably overworking, that the time that you want to spend with family, the time that you want to spend doing your hobbies, doing your exercising or whatever, we say, okay, well, no, we don't have time because all we're doing then is just trying to recover from the day of work. And then by the time we've recovered, then it's, you know, time to go to bed, wake up and do it all over again. And so it is actually really quite important for not just the children or teenagers or young adults, but for parents and heads of the household to realize that, okay, it is important not just for me personally, but for the entire household, that we recognize that it needs to be a part of my everyday schedule, whether it is sitting down for breakfast, sitting down for dinner, but a part of our everyday life, which helps to create that balance so it's not kind of lopsided. And that balance is really important because, again, you know, if a child in a house doesn't feel heard or seen, they will look elsewhere.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that where they look has their best interests at heart. And, you know, there's one thing that that is a really common response when you ask children what they would have preferred as they were growing up. 9 times out of 10, their answer is more time with parents or more time with the family. And that is one thing that, you know, we take for granted because, you know, we trying to work and provide and, you know, get money and provide for the children, when the fundamental thing is that, oh, well, we want time.
Yeah.
And then when the time is up and something, God forbid, someone passes, then is when we start saying, oh man, well, I wish I had more time with them. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. Not, I wish I spent more time at work, or I wish I spent more time, you know, making more money or anything like that. It's the time that we spend with our loved ones. So really cultivating that atmosphere where it's like, okay, well, we sitting down for dinner, we sitting down for breakfast, or we going outside and run around, we go for a walk together on the weekends, whatever, like just finding ways to carve out 10, 15, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever time you can, carving it out and saying, okay, well, this is my time, this is family time, and we're gonna go and do that and show that as being very valuable and important, so that hopefully the children can understand that, and as they grow up, incorporate that into their lives as well, and that, I think, will create a more balanced lifestyle.
And that is an opportunity for you to really catch up on what's happening. It always amazes me when people, you know, you maybe call someone and say, I'm not even sure if that person is at home, you know. So if you have someone in the house and they're in the bedroom all day long, it might be a good idea to knock the door and say, hey, what's going on? You know, come on out, let's chat, let's do something. Just start those conversations, like you said. And I think if we get back to having a structured family time, there are a lot of cultures. I know that people of Arab descent, they usually set aside a time for everybody to have a dinner. So, you know, you're all together. And if you put the devices aside, then maybe you have to talk.
Yeah.
So let's jump into that as we wrap up the conversation today on the role that, you know, social media, electronic devices, how are they distracting from people having these meaningful conversations that can truly help with mental health?
So that's actually one of the big distractors. And I think it's like, okay, well, when people in the family, again, might be exhausted from their day and they're relaxing, and so instead of interacting, they're like, okay, well, yeah, tell the child, okay, well, go use your device. And again, this is not judgment or anything like that, I understand it, but then they say, okay, well, when a child wants to reach out to a parent and say, well, I'll reach out to my device instead, because that becomes more familiar.
Soothing, more or less.
Well, exactly. And again, we can almost guarantee that what social media has to offer is not with your personal best interest at heart. And so therefore then you get pulled down this path. And not only that, I mean, it's entertaining, and so then you get pulled again by this immediate, instant gratification. It's really then creates this kind of unhealthy cycle where it's like, okay, well, I feel more comfortable here than with family. And then it becomes much harder, when you say when that door is closed and knocking on the door, it becomes much harder to pull that person away from it. And it's tough, because this is the world we live in now, where those distractions from family time and personal time are so much more at your fingertips, so much more available, and by doing that, it just sucks people into this kind of cycle, and it gets very, very difficult to pull them away from it.
And the truth about social media is so unrealistic. Most of the time is just simply untrue. It is superficial. So you are sitting there looking at these things that are unattainable. Looking at people through filters, looking like they themselves are having a good time when they truly might be hurting inside as well. So the reason why I'm such a good storyteller and probably should be on somebody's stage telling jokes is because in the family setting, we told a lot of stories, of our day. I remember even now, I can't wait to kind of get on the phone with my sisters to talk about things that happen and add some color, so that makes all the difference. And, that's truly a great place to start. How do you start prying the devices out of the children's hands, though, so that they don't feel it's a punishment when you have used it as a crutch all these years? So little ones who can't even speak as yet, parents, and I'm being judgy. You said no judgment from you, but I'm being judgy. You put a cell phone, a tablet, to keep the children quiet. And a lot of people say, this is the only way he keeps quiet. This is the only way she will stay still. So when you put that in front of a 1 or 2 or 3-year-old, and that's all they see, then how do you begin to take that away without them feeling this is punishment and creating even more challenges?
Yeah, so again, when you start them that early, it can become a comfort blanket. And so then, yes, they're quiet because that's what's comforting them instead of the parent or instead of some activity. And again, you look for activities like exercise and outdoor time, and it's like that's what I would have had a lot more growing up because you just didn't have devices. And the devices now, while they're luxurious and we enjoy them, it's like it doesn't encourage you to go outside. It doesn't encourage you to exercise or get fresh air or all of these fundamental things that contribute to wellness. And if you think, okay, well, like I put my child in front of it at 2 years old, think of how difficult it will be to take that away from them at 7, right? It's like there's 5 years of programming that is not going to just change overnight. And so it will take some kind of significant change of just saying, okay, we'll just do it. It's like between this time and this time, there are no devices, and not just no devices for you, no devices for me. Because I recognize that with my own family that I probably spend too much time on my device. And so it becomes one of those things where it's like, look, you're not gonna sacrifice. I'm not making you sacrifice. Like we're all just taking the time to put this aside. And as you said, like something as simple as story time. It can be a true story, can be a made-up story that the children can use their imagination. Let people talk and have this story time or whatever, and it creates a bond of comfort with the family. And if you can do that, it's like then you really open the door for having much more deep conversations, much more important conversations, because now you have an actual bond with someone. Spending that time outdoors, all of these things, it's like, okay, look, 1 hour, we put that aside, we find something to do together. And again, I think that is a really good starting point. It might not go over well in the beginning, but you get used to it, and you have to be able to be patient enough to bear with the growing pains of that, because it can be difficult transitioning away from something that is really a comfort blanket.
And for parents who are building their careers, I know sometimes it can be a real challenge to kind of strike that balance, because you want to make that impact in your area of business or in your career, and it can be truly demanding, and then striking that balance with taking care of the family as well. People say you can't have it all. No, you can't. Something will give, something has to give. So you have to make the decision on what it is. And finally, before we wrap, I just want to share something that another psychologist shared with me in another interview I did years and years ago. She said for people with, especially the little ones, when they see that you're distracted, sometimes it's a cry out for attention. So they're calling you all the time and so on, and it can be distracting. So you're on the computer trying to work from home or catch up on emails or do something. You're working on a project, maybe you're studying, and they're mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy. So she said, you know, give them that attention every time they answer. Go to them because they have like a 2-minute span anyways, and they're going to say something and then it's on to the next toy. So, you know, make them feel like if you are so important that every time you call me, I will come, but it comes down to, oh, not again, what do you want? And that doesn't necessarily make you a bad parent, but, you know, sometimes it feels that way. So if you give them that attention, you know, maybe that can help and they feel like they can come to you instead of feeling like a distraction. I think that's a good place to start. And our entire conversation can be summarized as making time for each other without devices.
Yeah, I think, again, very, very important. It's like that personal interaction. I mean, you'll find it so often with children, like, as you said, like, they'll be doing their own thing, and as soon as you go and pick up your device to entertain yourself, they're like, mommy, daddy. Because, again, they almost sometimes feel like they're competing for your attention and competing against devices. And so then, again, that also, I think, drives them closer to their own devices if they do have, and away from the parental connection. And again, I'm not judging because I understand the challenges, but having that time set aside, and I don't really like to be too rigid in general, but sometimes it requires a rigid schedule, and then it becomes more natural and more relaxed, and you know that you can kind of, this thing is actually in place, and you just kind of go about it, just like your meals or whatever. It's like if you are accustomed to not eating well, you might want to schedule a time and say, okay, well, I need to make sure I schedule time to eat, or schedule the time that I'm sleeping or whatever. And so it's the same thing. So you make it strict at first, and then, you know, as you get more used to it, it becomes more manageable and more comfortable.
It comes more easily. Thank you so much, Russell Mosley, counseling psychologist with Supreme Counseling for Personal Development. If you feel like you need help in some way, you definitely should reach out to somebody that you trust and someone who can help you to get the attention that you need. That's it for today's conversation, but like we told you, we definitely will continue talking about ways that you can get those conversations started about mental health. We're going to take a break and come on back on Morning Barbados. 19 minutes now before 8 o'clock. Coming up, the eyes have it. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The eyes have it. It's time for another clue for you. All right. So the first clue we gave you was that so we know it's a man, he started as a DJ first before he became an artist. There's your clue number 2. He started singing soca in 2006. Ooh, these eyes are some sleepy looking eyes, right? Maybe he performs a lot. Maybe he's tired. Maybe in this picture. But whoever it is, he started singing soca in 2006. Is that to suggest he sang something else before? I don't know. We're going to have to think about it. But stare, not longingly, but with interest, into these eyes and see if you can figure out who it is. And if you think you know who it is, get close to your telephone lines, because we are going to be taking your calls coming up pretty soon on exactly who that is. The eyes have it. If you think you have the answer, get close to your phone lines. Get ready to dial the numbers. Don't call yet. 228-5562 or 228-5563, and you will get a chance to guess who the eyes belong to. The eyes have it.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, it's 15 minutes to go before 8 o'clock. It's summer holiday. Yeah, I know you're loving it, especially for the little ones. Parents, we want to make sure we make the best of the summer holiday. I know some of the students are going into summer camp from today. Summer camp, of course, is a great opportunity to kind of build on your skills throughout the summer, but it's a great time to be outdoors as well. I know they get to go on tours and explore Barbados, maybe do a little more in the outdoors and things of that nature. The older ones tend to do more academic things, and I think once they hit like 15, they think, oh, camp is not for me. But camp is a great opportunity to meet some new friends and go out and engage as well. So I hope you enjoy your camps. Like I told you, I'm going to share on the social media. I've been getting quite a few people sharing with me about the camps as well. They're going to all go up to date on all my social media platforms. So it's an opportunity for you to get the information in, and I will share it on all the platforms that I am part of and in the various parent groups and so on that I am in as well. Because I know there are still some parents who are hunting for summer camps to be able to help them to get through the summer holiday. Now on Saturday we had Junior Kadooment and then the Junior Monarch competition, the Scotiabank Junior Monarch competition. Scotiabank has been sponsoring that competition for quite some time. So hats off, kudos, good morning to everybody from Scotiabank for really looking out for the interests of our young people, especially in the arts. And we met some really interesting young people on Saturday. I had an opportunity to speak to them and they performed, and boy, was it a good time. Now, I had an interview with a young man by the name of Porton on Saturday night, and it has been making its rounds on social media because of some of the answers he gave. It was one of the most interesting interviews, I dare say, I've ever done. But I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with him. So let's share that with you now, just in case you missed it.
I think I did good.
Why don't you think you did that well? What happened?
From when I had to sing my IIA from yesterday, when we had to go practice, I sang it off key.
All right, well tell me about the IIA. Let's go through that particular line.
I was supposed to say IIA, and I went IIA.
Okay, do it again. I don't think I got it. Try to teach me.
IIA, and I went IIA.
Oh, there's a difference.
Because yesterday they had it low. I sang it off key. I know what to sing next day. And then they bring it up high, so I had to say I sang it off key again.
You truly know what's happening with music. I don't think a lot of people pick that up, but generally you are happy with your performance?
Yeah, I am.
That's a good thing. How do you feel knowing that your brother did well in this competition? Is that one of the reasons that you wanted to compete as well?
I wanted to compete for the money because I wanted a Switch. I didn't play Fortnite in so long.
You wanted a what?
A Nintendo Switch.
So if you win the money, how much money are you winning? You're not sure?
I don't know.
Listen, Potent, if you want to win money, you have to know how much money it is.
I tell my daddy said like $2,000.
That's a lot of money. What would you do with it? You're going to buy a Switch,
I'll
Nintendo
buy a
Switch.
Switch.
And what else?
And with the rest of the money, I spend it on my friends and hot Cheetos and stuff.
Hot Cheetos. How about that? That sounds like a real plan there, Potent. Yeah? Tell me about this name, Potent. Who came up with that name?
My pastors.
Your pastors. And do you know why they wanted to call you Potent? Not sure, but we're going to figure it out. Yeah? All right. So you're happy with that performance?
Yes, sir.
That was fun. He was honest. He said he wants to buy hot Cheetos and spend the money on his friends. And how about that? He came third, which means he's walking away with money. Whoever the distributors are of hot Cheetos, good morning to you. You're going to make some money. And who knows, he's going to get that Nintendo Switch so he can play Fortnite all over again. I'm loving it. So good morning to the Murrell clan. I know you guys are great storytellers as well, and it truly is a dynasty when it comes to the performance. Dad, then into your sons and your daughter, had a wonderful time. So again, congratulations to the winners. So just in case you missed it, like we told you, we have the winning performances from Saturday night. First up was the Junior Soca, the Junior Calypso Monarch competition. And the winner of that competition was Sakara. Again, her father performs as well. He too is a singer, even though he does more on the reggae tip. And he is one of those parents who is always around. He's there. He's always involved with the music. And I believe that both of his girls perform as well, but it was Sakara's night. She was first out of the blocks, and she showed us why she deserved that Junior Calypso Monarch title.
Shame and their cross. These cell phones in their hands got them walking like sheep. They're passing you straight and won't even speak. So alone I just feel when they're ignoring me. So I had to turn round and talk to technology. Alexa, tell me what to do to beat out drug trafficking and domestic abuse. Alexa, what really can be done to stop the illegal trade and importation of guns? Alexa, define them words for me, because it's over countries in the Caribbean. Alexa, give me some answers. We don't have much time. Use your skills to help we. You are our lifeline. Yes, use your skills to help we.
And ironically, her song was also about technology and the role technology is playing in keeping us down. How about that? So a great presentation there from her. Then they picked up the BPMs and we got a chance to see those who were competing in the Soca Monarch competition. And that was equally as riveting. When it was all said and done, Young Tay retained her title as Junior Soca Monarch.
When your foot touch the ground, an instant connection, they take it way back to where we belong, yeah. I can't teach you how to be a John, just follow my action. Her rag in your hand and there we go long. Now everybody put it up, don't you eagle hug, all out on the wall. If you come to party, just put it up. Black Rock, look, we come back behind the big truck, we come to shake it up. Everybody ready? Jump in, bump in, get down the garden, dirty. All of we, family, on the mighty ground. joy we bring. Me only got love in me heart. It's a Bajan thing. Nothing sweeter than this. It's the vibes we bring. The long way just not in vain. Time to fight again. Don't relive the pain that done gone. Today the sun come up again. That is.
Oh, credible performances as well from Bit Bit and Trinity Clark, who both came second in the Calypso and Soca competitions respectively. And ironically, they both won the prizes for Best Self-Penned Pieces. So Bit Bit second and one for Best Self-Penned Piece, and Trinity Clark did the same as well. Congratulations indeed to all of the performers. You are indeed all winners. They really put on a big show to a packed gymnasium on Saturday night. It's time for us now to take your calls for The Eyes Have It, and I also have your final clue, so get close to your telephone lines.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Don't they look like Super Grover's eyes? All right, not the eyes that we're trying to figure out which eyes. I mean the eyes that came before. Okay, so you're calling me on 228-5562 or 228-5563 and telling me whose eyes these are. Here's your final clue. He was finalist at Soca Royale in 2015. He was a finalist at Soca Royale in 2015. Who do you think it is? So we have a caller on the line. Good morning. Where are you calling us from?
Good morning. I'm from St. George.
St. George. And what's your name?
Yes, please.
Your name is Yes, please?
Huh?
What's your name?
My name is Kevin.
Kevin. Okay, Kevin. Do you know who this is?
Yes, please.
Tell us.
Lil Rick.
It's Lil Rick?
Yeah.
Are you absolutely sure?
Yes, please.
It's not Lil Rick. Thank you for trying though, Kevin. Yes. Finally, I know something that Kevin didn't. Representing for St. George. Let me see if somebody in St. Joseph knows who it is. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
You see, I told you, Bijan, say I'm good. I'm doing okay. I'm very happy this morning. Where are you calling me from?
Black Rock.
My hometown, Black Rock.
Yes.
All right, who's this?
Hypersound.
Who?
Hypersound.
It is Hypersounds. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, Black Rock in the house today and taking that one. It is Hypersounds. I would have never guessed him with the eyes. Only the eyes. All right, we're going to play more games of that tomorrow. So make sure you really catch up on all of those faces for crop over. We're going to take a break and come on back and wrap things up for today. Stay with me.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
That's it from us for today. We'll be back with you, God willing, tomorrow with conversations on CARICOM, where we'll be looking at the global people-to-people forum that's coming up with the ambassador. And we're also going to get some people in here to tell you all about the Junior Kadooment finals. And who knows, you just might see the Monarchs as well. That's tomorrow on Morning Barbados. Remember to wear your smiles today. Ask people how they're doing and come on back on behalf of the crew. Have a great day and a wonderful week ahead. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.